First we drink all the booze, then hack all the things, then backdoor the firmware on anything you bring.
Last video we had a lame virtual lockpicking challenge, but there was also a physical lockpicking challenge. On the table of the organizers was a sealed package with a basic padlock that you had to open. The only tools available were paper clips. That's like how it's done in the movies. I'm not explaining to you how basic lockpicking works. I also don't really know much about it and failed the challenge at first. I didn't know that I had turned the lock in the wrong direction and I thought paper clips are just too weak. But I want to tell you a short cool story about it. So the guy who is filming right now is in fact int0x80 from DualCore and makes nerdcore music.
Regardless of the hardware, service or encoding, connected to the internet and someone's gonna own it.
But he's not only a musician, but plays CTF and even held a talk at BruCON about forensics.
Process execution continues, we maintain persistence, we keep getting our shells, we're doing awesome.
He was super nice and happy to lend me his lockpicking set and also told me I had to turn the lock clockwise. But it turns out the lock was a bit too small for the picking set, so he showed me how I can use 2 coins to twirl the wire and make the paper clips tools stronger. And then I tried again and succeeded. It's just so cool what kind of people you can meet at conferences, so thanks int0x80, you're awesome. Let's have a look at a challenge I didn't solve, OSINT. The description says, you have been associated with this case. Apparently a cybercriminal is planning a new attack with a partner. We have a file with an email header sent by the criminal. This header was sent by the former investigator on previous week to his disappearance. So the first reason I want to talk about this challenge, it's a good example for how not to design a challenge. I have no idea what to do. Apparently it's about forensics, recon, open source intelligence, whatever, which probably means I simply have to look around and try to find something that looks like a flag. But there's no goal, nothing to aim for. I can't tell if I make progress or not. That challenge was very frustrating because of this and eventually gave it up. So when I had a first look at the provided email, I want to know what the content says, so I had to translate the subject and content, didn't tell me much. From the mail headers, I saw that the email was sent from this anonymous mail service 5ymail. So the second reason why I want to show you this challenge is that because of this task, I had a look at 5ymail and learned what an awful anonymous mail service that is. That thing is rubbish. The first thing I did was to send myself an email with this service to have a look at the headers. When you send the anonymous email, it will generate a username and password for you. And now hold your head. Let's have a look at the email headers for that email. The email listed in reply to looks very similar. In fact, it contains the auto-generated username and password. What the fuck? At this moment I thought, wow, this challenge is cool. We are abusing this real service. The plan was clear. I extract the password and username from the header, log into that service and probably find the flag there. But it turns out you can't log in with those credentials. I asked one of the organizers if he can check if the challenge still works because somebody else could have changed the password and block other players. But he verified that it still works and I'm on the wrong track. Oh well. Another small thing I learned about the service is this weird endpoint that tells you the subject of the last received emails. What the freaking hell? Isn't this supposed to be like a private anonymous mailer or whatever? And to make things even worse, you can inject XSS into the email subject. What? I don't understand. Why? The only good thing about the service is that based on the leak of this endpoint, I learned that this email service is not used much, which makes me very happy. So yeah, after all this, I gave up on this OSINT challenge. To this day, I have no idea what I have to do. If you know the solution or you figured it out, please tell me. This challenge makes me crazy. Okay, move on to another challenge. This challenge is called Selected Access and the description says that the site only allows entry to horses and we have to show that we are a horse. There's also a hint saying that we should have a look at index.bk. So let's get started. This is the challenge URL. It says this is a test to verify if we are a horse. Okay, well then. I start by looking into the HTML source to get a better feeling for what functionality the page might have. But it turns out there is not much, besides this picture in the HTML comment. The picture is a decision graph that we can follow to check if we are a horse. and apparently there's no way for reaching that conclusion. We always will be human. Now, when we look into the index.pk hint, we can find some PHP code. So that might be the source code of the other page. I copy the code into Sublime to have some syntax highlighting, and let's have a look at the code. The code checks the question parameter and then the answer parameter. And then there is a switch case that sets a certain URL to be fetched with curl, and the response will be embedded in this page. So I immediately thought I should go for the impossible.php. I mean, what other goal would there be other than going for the impossible script? This means I want to question 5 with answer no. Okay, interesting. We get an L Mayo and that horse don't cheat. That confused me. And I even tried to use the sentence as a flag, but obviously that would have been too easy. So what else could it be? Always when I see curl, I'm hunting for server-side request forgery or similar bugs. Because if we could control the whole URL, we could try to access some other service only available from localhost, or maybe even a file from the system. But that didn't really work because we can only append values to the URLs. We do control basically what we append because it takes a question number, for example 5, which would result in R5 equal, and then it would append the answer to that. And we could set answer to anything we want, but that doesn't help us much. I then started to head into the wrong direction and try to figure out if there's a curl bug that I'm not familiar with. Turns out it's really annoying to search for PHP curl exploit or similar search terms because so many small exploit scripts are written in PHP with curl, and that doesn't help me. But after I put this challenge aside, I realized I've been obsessed with the wrong strategy. I don't know why I had the revelation, but at some point I realized the goal is not to get impossible, but pass the correct answer to the 5 PHP script. Duh! And that is fairly easy. First of all, we have to make sure that the question will be 5, but the answer not no. So what we can do is we can simply inject more parameters via the answer variable. So I simply set the answer to yes, but follow it up with another ampersand URL encoded, followed by the R5 equal to no. Now when the string is built, it will do R5 equal yes ampersand R5 equal no. And that will append to the 5 PHP for the curl request. And yeah, the R5 parameter is there twice, but that doesn't matter because the script will only see the last one. And this way we load the 5 PHP script that gives us the flag. I'm a beauty horse. Also, while editing I realized that a simpler solution would have been to simply use R5 equal no followed by an encoded ampersand, because then the answer would still be not no because it would be no ampersand, but the 5 PHP script requested via curl would then only see the no. That's it for this video. I think there will be one more BruCON CTF video right up. There was a challenge I really liked and I want to show that.